Hello, everybody. How everybody doing this evening? Hey, Gavin's Production Network. How you doing, my friend? Oh, man, I can't complain. It won't do no good. Don't forget to hit that like button, y'all, for the ones that's just looking at it. So I'm waiting for some people to get in the chat, though, because I got an Eyewitness coming on, though. Oh, I already know, Gavin. I already know, my friend. Because I just texted him back and said I was going to call him back in a few minutes. So I'm going to do that in a few. But I'm trying to wait for some people to jump in, though. I ain't know an airplane was going to fly overhead, so excuse me for that. I apologize. He just texted me, too, so trying to wait for people to get in. Got an Eyewitness tonight. Trying to wait for some people to get in the chat. But if not, then I'm going to just start it. I'm going to just start it. But anyway, had a, had a conversation with my moms earlier, man. They talk about mending fences and and forgiving people and stuff like that. And that's what I tried to do in this field, though. But I never knew that by saying certain things, it can make enemies. Hey, David F. Yeah, I got an eyewitness. I'm going to call him in a minute. Yeah, and I lost, what I consider friendships behind this. But at the end of the day, the only thing I could do is just move forward. But got a real good guest coming on, and he got some good stuff to talk about. He got some real good stuff to talk about. Mr. Carlito, what's up, my friend? How you doing, Mr. Carlito? How everybody doing? I'm gonna speak to everybody. That's what's up. I'm going to call the eyewitness in a minute. Already, fam. That's what we do. I'm gonna call him because I don't want to keep him waiting. Maquetta. Let me try to get him on the phone. Hey. Hey, what's up, my friend?
Hey, how are you, brother?
Oh, what's going on? I'll be back up that way. I'll be back up that way next week. Can you hear me? Hold up. Wait a minute. I'm trying to get a reception on this. Hold up. Hello?
Okay, you hear me?
Tell your sister. Tell your sister. Okay.
Can you hear me here?
Yeah, yeah. Say something again. Bye. No. Hold on for a minute. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, hold on. Let me try to connect you to my Bluetooth. Let me.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right.
Are you good?
Help each other.
You good, Dave?
Oh yeah, I'm fine, brother.
All right, all right. All right. I ain't gonna
How you
keep.
doing?
I mean,
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm great. I mean, I'm doing okay. As expected, despite everything that went on and stuff. So just trying to keep, doing what I'm doing, man, because I love to do this. But I ain't gonna keep them waiting, man. You can go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them how you got into it, man, and tell us about these encounters.
All right. I'm trying to think. You gotta ask me a few things. I mean, I can talk, but I'm not. It's hard for me to just keep rolling. Usually if you ask me a few questions, I'm all right.
Oh, okay.
Let me know when you want to start.
I would start now.
Okay. Well, I'm Thunder. A few people know me. I'm Thunder. Some people know me David Thundercloud. Some people call me Thunder. I'm from Maryland. I've been Bigfooting since 2016. I fell into it by accident, really. I didn't really. When I started, I didn't really understand. Like I was like a lot of people. I had seen a lot of paranormal stuff on TV growing up as a child, and from there, I saw the shows like a lot of us used to watch, like In Search of, and the paranormal shows on television and things like that. And you would see, things on Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and UFOs and ghosts. So, I liked them, but I just hadn't had those type of encounters. Well, at least until I got older. But I didn't have them when I was young. So basically, it was just something to watch on television, and then I put it in the back of my mind. It wasn't anything special. So what happened was I had been listening to. Actually, I had a job. I was in the transportation business, and sometimes I have long breaks, and those the grandbabies. Uh, and I had long breaks. So what I would do is I started listening to like Coast to Coast Radio. A few people may know that. Well, a lot of people should. Coast to Coast,
Yeah.
It's big radio. Yeah, so Coast to Coast is a little big. So I started listening to Coast to Coast, and as time went on, you get kind of curious to see what other, radio talk shows are out there and podcasts and things like that. So I went over to some other podcasts, but they weren't like Coast to Coast. Coast to Coast dealt with everything paranormal, and even Coast to Coast goes far. They go paranormal. They even go into financial things. They cover a lot of things. Coast to Coast. So I went over to a lot of other stuff, and I started listening. But what I heard mostly was a lot of Bigfoot. So I heard a lot of Bigfoot stuff like that. And
Hey.
what happened was
Stay out. I go in the house.
I had so what happened was I would hear a lot of things like Bigfoot this, Bigfoot that, or Bigfoot was across the country, he was North America, West, East Coast, he was everywhere. So I would start listening to these shows. But I was I was open-minded to it, but I didn't believe, like with the Bigfoot and the Dogman, I believed that they were around, but they had died off. That was kind of like my mindset at the time. So, listening to more and more of the show, the podcast, I started to really start to wonder, could this really be true? Could these things really be alive and in our world right now, running around. Because, like I said, my mindset was that they had died off hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So anyway, I started kind of researching online. And what I did was I would research like online across the country for like Bigfoot sightings and things like that. And then I started getting on the BFRO, website. I'm sure you've heard of that, and a lot of listeners have heard of that. So that's how I got started in it. And what had happened was I didn't believe that. Once I got to the point where I started to believe that they were here, I didn't believe that they were here in this state, in Maryland State. And I kind of, how can you say, I went out to investigate on my own. I had started researching online, and then I would find out the sightings. And some of the sightings were actually recent. And I said, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe this is going on, right in the state. Well, come to find out, a lot of the places in Maryland weren't more than 30, maybe 30, 40 minutes from me, which really, really kind of took me for a loop. But still, once again, I had to see it to believe it myself. So I started going out to the areas and kind of just checking things out. And at this time, I didn't know about Facebook. I knew of Facebook, but I hadn't really been a user of Facebook. I might have, had a page on, but I didn't really pay any mind to Facebook. And I darn sure didn't know about the paranormal groups or the Bigfoot or the Dogman groups. So when I went out and I started on my own by myself with no help, except just a few of the things that I'd heard, on the radio shows. But other than that, I didn't know what I was doing. So I researched the area, and I guess we call it the 295 corridor. That's where that used to be a hot spot for a lot of Bigfoot and Dogman sightings, and they had allegedly had a Goatman sighting and things like that. So that's where I started. When I started in this area, I started noticing a lot of unusual things, but once again, I didn't know totally what I was doing. So certain things I would kind of just pass up as, oh, that's just nature, So the more that I started to kind of study the legends of Bigfoot and things like that, and the kind of the other creatures running around, I started to try to kind of look for those things that I had passed up so many times before, because there was a lot of evidence that I was passing up because I would just look. But in my mind, I was like, well, if I don't see something that looks like Patty, then to heck with it, because that was my mindset. If I don't see a Patty Bigfoot, then there's no Bigfoot, But anyway, I learned that not all of them look alike, not all of them act alike. They're just like us. We come in different sizes, shapes, and colors, and different attitudes, and we do different things. We have different habits. So I started like that, and going out day after day, I started to pick up more and more, and then I started to see more and more, and then I started to learn more and more about what to look at, what to listen for, and that's when I noticed, and then I started to. I was actually very blessed because when I started researching my first area, actually on the first day I was there, I met two women that were in the same area. They weren't researchers, but they were just hikers, I guess, in the area, because you could hike there. It's very, real massive. So the ladies were talking. They said, "Be careful." And I said, "Well, why, what things run around here? They're here. We've seen them." And I got excited, but I didn't want to put words into her mouth. You know what I mean? So So I wanted to wait for her to tell me, and I said, "What do you mean?" And then she said, "Well, the Bigfoot's here." I said, "Oh, really?" I didn't tell her what I was doing there. I just listened. I didn't want to add anything or take away from anything. I just wanted her to tell me what she knew. So she explained to me that there was a young male, black Bigfoot, that would come out every morning in this area. And there's lakes. There was like 3 lakes in this area. And that Bigfoot would eat. They basically would have breakfast in the morning. Well, she told me that there was a sighting of the young one, but also there was a sighting of what they assumed was the mother. And the mother was a red one. And I guess they were, mother and child. I don't know if it was male or female, to be honest with you. But they told me that the mother was aggressive. I guess she was protective of her child, so I guess that's why the mother was so aggressive. So I started trying to look for things, and I wanted to try to get results and see. So I would start leaving little things here and there, like I would leave food. I'd leave peanut butter. I'd leave candy. Well, the first time I left the peanut butter, I was really, really lucky because the next day that I went back to check on the food to see if they had taken it, I saw what looked like a baby's footprint. But in this area, you're not going to you wouldn't let a human toddler just be walking around in the woods or dirt or something like that, barefooted. That, a human child could get hurt. So I'm assuming maybe the mother or maybe the son or the daughter of the black Bigfoot maybe had a child. So maybe it was more than 2. I was thinking it was just 2, but perhaps it was 3. Maybe it was the grandmother, the mother, father, and a baby. So that really got me kind of excited, and I kept going from there, and I started going back constantly, researching the area. Well, fortunately, what happened was I was in the library, and I was doing some research. So I went to Facebook, and I said, well, let me just try something. And I just thought I was being silly. So I put Bigfoot into the Facebook site. I searched Bigfoot. Well, a Bigfoot group had popped up, and I was amazed because I didn't even know Bigfoot groups existed. Because I knew some people believed in it, but I just didn't know that it was so large. You know what I mean? I didn't know there was such a large following across the whole United States, or the whole world, really. So, what I did is all the photographs, everything that I was doing or taking pictures of day by day, I started putting onto a Facebook group. It's a Bigfoot group, and I forgot the name. But the guy that runs the group, he's a cop. I think he's a cop now. I forgot the name of the group. But several people on there that had dealt with the Bigfoot, they were saying a lot of the stuff that I was displaying looked like evidence. It looked like proof that this thing was really existing around, which got me, even more excited, more hungrier to keep going out, and every day. So I had left my job, like I really got into it. I was selling everything out of my house, anything I get my hands on just to survive, so I could keep, Bigfooting or whatever. So from there, I met a few people online, and fortunately, I had met was now one of my I guess you call him Bigfoot partners. That's Big JP, real great guy, and another guy Mark, really cool guys. So they were in the Maryland DC area, and they were into Bigfooting. So they had seen my stuff, and red Bigfoot in the area. So, which I'm assuming that was the mother, what I call the mother, the grandmother. So, Market spotted her. So that was real cool because now the pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. It was just coming together through different people. So, the long story short, we had all kind of met up, teamed up, and we started going out together. But let me back up. For a while, I think from 2016 to about I think it was like 2017, I was by myself doing this. I would go out day, night, anytime that I could. So once the first area by the 295 corridor, once I didn't really see a lot of action, I went back online and I started researching to find some other areas where they had sightings. Well, I was fortunate to find a second place, which wasn't far from the 295 corridor, right around Annapolis, Maryland. Annapolis, Maryland, a lot of the back areas are really, really swampy. Really, a lot of people don't know that, but, a lot of people think Annapolis is just all the Navy bases and military, but there's a huge area of swamp, in these areas. And as I was getting more into kind of learning or researching, whatever you want to call it, I started really try to study and kind of open my mind to certain things. So I purchased a map book, and I really started studying the maps and the terrain of, the Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvania. Because, Pennsylvania is a dogman hotspot. That's a dogman hotspot in PA. A paranormal hotspot in PA. Virginia is a hotspot for Bigfoot. And Maryland, we're right between them. Pennsylvania is right above us, and Virginia is bottom. So, and we have Patapsco River. So I started really putting pieces together. I'm like, well, these things are probably, basically created a highway, and they're, I'm assuming that they're running back and forth, from whatever they're doing. So anyway, I found this another area, but this other area was much more. It was in the Annapolis area. It was much more wilder. The first area was a little bit more calm and tame, but this area, the first night, I went to this area. Actually, I took a friend of mine. His name's Big Tony, and I asked Big Tony. I said, "Well, you want to go with me?" Because he does filming and photography. So I said, "Well, look, I want to do some filming out here," and so we went out. Well, we ended up going out at night, which wasn't the smartest thing because I hadn't mapped out the area yet. But we went out to this other area, swampy area near Annapolis, and we were out there. This place was pitch black. It was just dark. So we're out there, and I'm looking at this. It's like a tree line. It's like a tree line, or what I was assuming was a tree line, because we were in the woods, but we couldn't see. So I couldn't really, tell everything what was what. So all I hear is I hear these footsteps walking up, and it sounded. It kind of, how can I say? It took me for a loop because I didn't expect any action so fast. So I was kind of nervous, but I didn't want to be too nervous because Big Tony, he didn't believe. He doesn't believe. He doesn't believe that I know of. But I hear these footsteps, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm saying, I know that can't be who or what I think it is. And the footsteps were walking towards us. But so I looked, and I said, well, maybe it's just maybe it's just a man goofing off, somebody. But I kept looking. I couldn't see anything, so I just kept looking, and it was just walking towards us. So I became like really, really uncomfortable. But it was like I was at guess I couldn't believe it. You know, I couldn't really wrap my mind around what was coming towards us, what was happening. But later on, and I'll get to that. I think it was one of those Bigfoots coming up, but the walk was so calm. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't running. It wasn't rushing us. It wasn't threatening. It was calm. I mean, not to say it could have did anything to us if it had came up, but I didn't stay in that position. So I told Tony. I said, "Well, Tony, why don't we go walking?" Because Tony was in front of me, and I kind of thought to myself, I got us in this situation. I don't want anything to happen to him, or us. And I would prefer it to happen to me since I was the one that got us doing this in the first place. So I told Tony, let's go walk. Let's move around a little bit just to kind of get out of that situation because I really didn't know what was about to go down. So we had left that spot. We walked around and we did some filming, and it was on my mind, the rest of the time, obviously. And I was like, I can't believe that this is, that this is happening, and that this area is like that. So, what I ended up doing is, we went ahead, we filmed, and I think we were done, we filmed till about maybe 1 a.m. And it was just dark out there. I mean, it was more dangerous than I thought because I wound up going back to the area in the daytime, and then really what I saw was a lot of this. It could have been a real bad night. First, we found what looked to be like nest, like 3 nests, and that was where I heard whatever it was walking up towards us in the dark, like a blind. Looked like a blind, and the branches were intertwined. And everything I'm telling you is on my Facebook page. So if you want to check it out, anybody wants to check it out, it's there. So always make sure I take pictures of and try my best to get as much evidence as I can. So we found what looked to be like 3 nests in almost like kind of like a little neighborhood in the woods. It was like 3 nests. But the blind was the thing that really got me nervous because the blind was near us. And if we had decided to walk towards whatever was walking towards us, if we walked towards it, it could have had a field day with us. And if it had its family with it, or its clan, or its tribe, or whatever, definitely would have been toast. So, I had really started checking out this area. So I stayed in this area for about maybe, I think it was like my second home. So I think I stayed in there for about maybe a year. And Tony would never go back with me, so I started going back by myself. I would go in the daytime. I would go at night. And I guess after a while, whatever it was roaming around there, it started to, I guess we kind of had some kind of, you don't disrespect my home, and I won't disrespect you. You know what I mean? So I would start to find tracks. I found what looked like a complete shelter by itself, fully sustainable. It was hidden though. It was hidden deep in a swampy area of this area that I was in Indianapolis, and it was like a woven hut. Looked like a wigwam. Really, really cool. And I found tracks. I would leave food. Sometimes I would have to leave food. And once I started leaving the food, that's when I started getting more responses. So then a deer, like it would be, I think it was gross sometimes, but still, whatever it was there would have a deer. So it would be a deer placed there pretty much day after day. Sometimes it wouldn't be a deer, but most of the time it would be a dead deer. Either the neck would be broke or it would be half a deer. So it would be the head and the spine. Usually the spine would always show, so the meat was usually torn off around the spine to the midsection. So it would be the head, then there would be no meat, and then it would be down to the waist and it'd be the legs. And I guess just decided to leave from me. I'm assuming they were trying to share it because it would always be at the edge of the woods right before I went in. So it would always be a dead deer there. And one time it left what looked like a fur coat, but it wasn't a fur coat. The meat had been dug out of the deer, but it was so precise that it looked almost like they had made me like a fur coat. Would look like a fur coat, but it was actually the deer meat had been carved out, like when we take the meat out of a crab shell. So that was really it was really cool. It was amazing. So what happened was I just started to stay in this area, and I would find everything. I'd find rodents that were eaten. I'd find bones of animals. So whatever they or he or she or whatever it was that was running around in the area, they would always do something. And I don't know if it was them just doing their natural thing in their natural habitat, or was it them, playing a game. Maybe they liked the fact of me being there, but not disturbing. I was never rowdy. I never disrespected, them or their area. I would go in there. I'd be quiet. I didn't make a lot of noise. I didn't bring a ton of people. And I just really would go there and just hang out. I'd sit there. Sometimes I'd sit there. I'd sit down on the ground. Nighttime would come. I'd sit there at night and listen. Sometimes I would hear something. Sometimes I wouldn't. Some days I would get action. Some days I would not. So I just continued to stay there, for I guess about maybe a year or two, and just tried to document everything that I could. Well, what happened, what really got the ball rolling for me, or got me deeper into this type of activity. I was posting. So what happened was I got a call from a woman in Virginia. Actually, I got a call from 3, and they said, "Well, we want you to come out and investigate." But one lady called me. She said, "I want you to investigate." Another investigation I was invited in on, so that wasn't mine. But she said, "I have these things running around my home," and she had sent pictures, but the pictures you really couldn't see anything. So I was kind of worried, and I just thought, well, maybe she's, maybe it's something that is paranoia. Maybe she'd have pictures of these trees, but you couldn't really see anything. So she said, well, I would like you to come out here and investigate. So I said, well, I was grateful, that anybody would take me serious enough to do that. So I ended up it was one Saturday. I was going out to Virginia. I can't say the lady's name. She hasn't given me permission yet to say her name, but hopefully she'll come out one day. But she said, "Well, come on out. You're invited." So I called up a coworker, and him and a friend of his was nice enough to come, and I said, "Hey, you all want to ride with me? I'm going to Virginia," and I hadn't been. So I was like, I hadn't been anywhere in years because I just been working. So what I decided to do was we packed up, we went out there, and I don't think she was too far from Quantico. A lot of people know that the FBI base, they see that on television, just to give everybody an idea where she was. But so went out near Quantico. Well, I'll tell you this: we pulled up, and everybody introduced themselves. She showed us the lay of the land, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it didn't take more than maybe 35 minutes for things to start just getting crazy. That's how active her area was. My friend, his friend was a woman, so I thought it'd be better if she stayed in the house with the lady, just so we could figure out what we were dealing with. somebody had taken care of her backyard. A huge home. Her home was beautiful. Huge home. But behind her home was, once again, another swamp. It was a swampy area. And I said, well, we'll go down here. I'll check out the swamp. As soon as I go down the hill, there's a hill in her backyard was like woods, and the woods is real swampy. I mean, it's hot and humid and everything. So we went down there, and this was, I think, fall. This was fall. So the leaves were just, I think the leaves had just started to fall. So I go down the hill or an embankment or whatever you call it. As soon as I get down the hill, I look to my left. I see this tree shaking like nuts. It's like crazy. The tree's shaking. And I hear what sounds like monkey chatter. Like little monkeys like you might hear on National Geographic or Animal Planet or whatever. So I was like, wait a second, this doesn't make it, this doesn't make any sense. The tree's shaking, but nothing came out. It sounded as if it wanted to come out. So I stood by the tree, and I was amazed. I wasn't scared. I was just amazed, and I was just listening and standing there, and I was just staring at the tree, and I'm like, what's going on? I was like, this tree is shaking so violently. It was like something just wanted to bust out. But later on, when me and the woman had talked about it, she said that there were several little ones on her property. And she said that they look like, she had seen them before. She said they get all around the house, they get on the roof. She has her house. We'll just say that because she has a huge house that needs to be taken care of. And she has employees. And she said when employees go home at night, sometimes they say they hear things or they see things that freak them out, that spook them out, So anyway, back to what we were doing. So after that, it's me and Wendell. Wendell thinks he got it with me. So Wendell is back here. We're both back here standing in the swamp, and we're looking around. And I'm just waiting to see see if anything crazy comes running out or running after us or whatever. And fortunately, nothing. But now, see, this is where it starts to get a little kind of strange. Wendell started to get kind of a fearful look on his face, and Wendell's. He's a big dude. He's like a football. He's built like a football player. He's just big, this big, and he just got this fearful look on his face. He said, "Can we get out of here? Can we go out?" Because we were just down a steep hill. He said, "Can we go up the hill and back near the house?" And we'll go ahead and check out the backyard. So I said, "Sure, fine." I was just happy he was there. It was good to finally have somebody going out with me because as I said before, most of the time I was by myself. So I didn't want to mess a good thing up. So I said, "Yeah, sure, we can get out of here." So we go up the hill to the lady's backyard, but here's what gets kind of funny. There was what I'm assuming was some Bigfoot dookie, and then there was a footprint of a juvenile. But you can see the toe, and I got a picture of it on my Facebook page. It was a foot to toe, but it looked like it was from a small squat. And then it was, I guess I'm assuming Bigfoot dookie sitting right there. So that really took us for a loop. And then there was a branch, like a tree branch that was broke right near it. I said, "Man, this is crazy," but I was like, "This is perfect," because it was falling in place. You know what I mean? Whatever was there. So we ended up looking around her property and looking around the front yard just to see, because apparently something had been through there. Something had ran through there. And Wendell ended up saying, he said, "Yeah, I saw something when we came." He said it was white and it was brown. He said, "I saw something running fast." But he didn't tell me earlier I wish you had told me earlier, but I mean, it is what it is. And at least we had the evidence because we actually had the small footprint. And the lady did say that most of the ones that run around there are juveniles. And she also said that they get into her trash can. And I guess the employees or her, whoever, somebody loved eating Burger King. So she said whenever they had Burger King in the trash can, these little Bigfoots would get in there. They I guess, get into the Burger King bags and leave the trash everywhere. But she did say they started tying down the trash can lid so these things couldn't get in there. So that was some of the information she was giving me. She also said that she did see one of them. She said one of them got into a garage and it was, I guess, messing around or hopping around on the car or whatever. That was really crazy. I was like, I wish I could be here more often, so we could get some really, really good evidence. So anyway, we ended up taking a meal break. We went in the house. Now, by this time, it's dark. Sun was going out fast. So we went in the house. We had a meal break. The friend that was with us, she went out for a smoke break. Now, she went into I guess you call it the courtyard of the lady's house. And we were sitting in the house talking to the lady, and we were just chit-chatting we were going back and forth about what was going on her property, the high strangeness, the weirdness, and we were just kind of talking about just friendly stuff or whatever. So I thought to myself, I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden, you know how something kind of sparks your mind and says, hey, you need to take care of this, you need to do such and such.
Mm-hmm.
So something came to my mind, right? So something came to my mind, and I was like, oh goodness. I was like, the young lady's outside. So I ran outside because I said it's dark. She's out there and she's right near the tree line. You know what I mean? That's not cool. So I ran out and I said, are you okay? And she said, yeah, but I saw something. I said, what did you see? She said, well, I saw something that looked like eye shine in the woods. I said, well, it's probably just a deer. And she said, well, do you know any deer that are 12 feet tall? I said, no, ma'am, I do not. So I said, well, and see, she's not a believer. So this made it perfect. Because she said, I heard sounds and I heard something grunting and I saw something watching me that was 12 feet tall from the tree line. And she didn't believe. So I said, well, this is really, whatever this lady has going on, this lady has definitely unusual or paranormal or Bigfoot or whatever you want to call it, hotspot going on. So when I was outside talking to her about it, she's taking a smoke break, and I said, well, whatever it is, it probably smells the nicotine or whatever and got curious, or it may have just got curious because you're a female. So I asked her, I said, can you come back in? And I can't leave you out here by yourself. So still can't, I'll come back in. But what was so bizarre about the situation, when because I was in the doorway, and the young lady was, in the carport, I guess that's your carport. So she was in the carport, and near the tree line, I was by the doorway. As soon as we got quiet, everything started to go haywire. You could hear these things come up on the left side of the lady's house. You could hear them because the leaves had already started to fall. So you could hear them crunching. Like, these things had no, most of the time, the Bigfoot and the Dogman are stealth. They're quiet. You don't know it. You don't know around. But whatever these things, they really didn't give a darn. So they come up on the left side of the house, and you just hear a little bit of chatter. Just a little bit, not a lot. A little. So they come up on the left side of the house. And that's when I started to get a little freaked because I had never been in a situation. Like, I've been in a situation where I've heard them, and the first time we had one walk towards us back in Maryland State, but I never had something where it, how can I say, where they were all just kind of coming at one time. So they would come on the left side of the house. You can hear them come up on the right side. And you can just hear them coming, at least crunching, but they wouldn't come to the the carport. They wouldn't come out in the darkness. They stayed in the darkness, and you know how that goes. We can all go back and forth with that. Why, what's in what's in the dark, wants to stay in the dark. So, we can discuss that another time. But they wouldn't come out. They wouldn't come out. So I was like, this is really it was just another incredible thing, and I couldn't believe that all this stuff was happening, because I would hear that some people had searched for these things and look, and we all know you're not supposed to, but we do it anyway. But search for these things 20, 30, 40 years, and they never see anything. They never hear anything. Here I am. I'm like maybe 2 or 3 years into it, and I'm getting this kind of just this craziness. So we go back in the house, we talk, we trade notes, and we sit down, and we just discuss what's happened on this lady's property and a lot of the different things that they're dealing with. And I asked her, so have they ever hurt you? And she said, no, they don't. She said, if anything, they're more protective of me. And it's the woman, I think she's about 60, in her 60s now. So I was saying, okay, well, that's a good thing. They haven't hurt you. They haven't. I said, have they destroyed your property or anything? She said, no, just the trash cans. They get in there and they eat, take what they want. They don't always clean up behind themselves. So I said, okay, well, that's not bad. You get that from your kids, or children, grandkids do that. So that was a plus. So I said, well, at least they're not violent, or at least they're not violent yet. And they seem protective of you because they seem very active when we came. So I guess that's more, maybe they're looking at you motherly. You may actually have a whole bunch of baby Bigfoot orphans running around, or you may just have a whole tribe of them who feel close to you. Maybe, but that doesn't, you don't want to push any buttons and take any chances, because one day could be good, and the next day, you could be a sandwich.
Right.
So, that was one of the really, really crazier times that, dealing with it. So, when we were done that, we went ahead, we talked over things, and we couldn't really, because we didn't have a visual, but we did have some, got a few good pictures. There weren't a lot of structures, which is one thing that over the years, I don't know why, but it seems like the more activity, I've seen, the less structures. But the more structures, the less activity, which sometimes I wonder if maybe the structures are landmarks, or if they're sometimes if they put them, because I'll find more structures closer to civilization than I do deep in the woods, and that's ongoing. Like I've done a lot of times where we've even gone to West Virginia and researched, and I'll go deep in the woods thinking, hey, we're gonna find all these structures, and we're gonna find a whole civilization of structures, or wigwams or whatever, wherever they're living, or holes they dig or whatever, or caves. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And I don't know if maybe they do the structures, they create the structures in the blinds to hide, but when they're near us, they use these to hide and to signal and to landmark when they're near us. But when they're deep in the woods, it's not as much of a problem, so they don't worry as much about us walking up on them. That's on, that's just me making a guess. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Let's just a guess.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, he gonna answer questions when he done. Just put them in all caps. The questions y'all got asked once he finished. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, David.
Okay. All right. So from there, that, like I said, that was really a exciting time. Kind of creepy, but still exciting. So we said our goodbyes to her. We tried to document as much as we could. I took notes, took the pictures, posted them, blah blah blah, just to get people's opinion. started doing, I split my time between Annapolis and the one over by 295 corridor, and I went back and forth, and then we ended up finding actually another spot. I that was by the 295 corridor too. So we found actually another spot. We started to research that. That was really a crazy area too, because that's when I found a massive. We found what looked like a massive amount of structures, and we ran video on there of the area several times. I ran video because there were so many structures intertwined with each other. It just looked bizarre. It just looked crazy. So I went ahead. I did a video, and then I took some pictures of it. And I mean, it was just any form of structure that you've probably ever seen. It was there in that spot by 295 corridor. And I'd actually found that by accident. But it was really just amazing. It was a blessing actually to find it, to tell you the truth, but it was just amazing. Right. So, I mean, I think, I thank God for not being harmed, because I'm probably sure that there was a lot of times they were probably around or watching us. And the new area with the massive amount of structures by 295 corridor, actually, I had come to find out, I didn't even know, but came to find out later that they had a Bigfoot, a goat man, and a dog man sighting in this area. So it was exciting to find out, but it was kind of creepy too, because I was still researching this area by myself, because Wendell and his friend, they weren't Bigfooters. That was just a one-time thing. So I looked at this area, and then kind of researched, and then I had 3 areas, which was really cool. Found a lot of crazy things. From there, I think that was maybe about 2.5 years, maybe about 2.5 years, I was by myself. So what happened was I ended up having a guy email me, and that was JP, which is now one of my research partners, real great guy, one of my very, very close friends, and we had met up. And he said that he wanted to go out. He was in Maryland, so it was perfect, because I couldn't find any. It wasn't too many Maryland, Bigfooters. Everybody was, either in Virginia or Pennsylvania. So what I tried to do is team up with some people in Pennsylvania. They had a Bigfoot group out there, but the Bigfoot group had disbanded. I guess they fell apart, or whatever happened to them. And in Virginia, a lot of the action in Virginia was West Virginia, and that's like 4 hours from Maryland. So that would have been trying to keep up with them every weekend would have been a hump. So I remained by myself for a while, and then JP contacted me, and then long story short, we had teamed up, and he's definitely a really good friend and research partner, definite blessing. He's the kind of like the techie of the group. He's a computer savvy guy, so we do, when we do our night investigations or whatever, we use the fear and like that. He's very brave. That's one thing. Like, he's almost to the point where he's brave, but he's scary brave. I don't know if you know what I mean, but he doesn't have a fear button. I've only seen him kind of scared one time, and I didn't even see that. He told me, but he's the type that'll just go for it. You know what I mean? Which is really, it's cool, but it's not cool, because I have to keep an eye on him, because he has a wife and a child. So I have to, it's kind of like when we're together, I gotta really, really watch him, make sure he doesn't do anything, too crazy. But other than that, he's definitely fantastic. So anyway, we had got a call to investigate, and let me back up. I had another investigation. This is when I went to Lynchburg, Virginia, and that's before JP and I met up. So I'm gonna back up a little bit. Before I met JP, I got an invite from my buddy Daniel out in West Virginia. So he had said, if anybody wants to go, I'm going out and check out this lady's property. in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I jumped on it because I said, well, I really wanted to get out to Virginia. I heard it was a hot spot, and I really, really wanted to get out there. So there was another guy, and he had found me online. He was in Frederick, Maryland, and him and I had teamed up we were getting ready to team up, but this was going to be our first team up. So he was actually, we met up, and we drove in separate cars because he had a wife and kids too. And what was his name? Well, maybe I better not say his name, but we were actually headed out to Virginia. I think we were driving through Frederick. Well, he got a call from his wife, and his wife said, "Stop, park your car. Basically, you're not going anywhere." So she said, "Come on, turn the car around. You're coming home." And that was kind of like a bummer, but I understood that. You have your wife and all that stuff. So you gotta do what she says. So that was cool. So she had, I guess, called him to come back home. So he basically was in midpoint. He had to go back home. Well, here's the thing about it. I get to Lynchburg, Virginia. I mean, this lady has this property. Went to check out this lady, and her name is Cindy. I can say her name because Cindy came forth now, and she told her story, so it's okay now. So anyway, we went to Cindy's property, and I mean, Cindy lives high up. I mean, she's just up in the mountains. And I hadn't been anywhere like this since I was a kid, so it was just crazy. I mean, the cell phone's going out. I'm like, we're just going way up in the mountain. So I get up to Cindy's property. I meet up with Daniel, and he tells me, he briefs me on what was going on in the area. She tells me what's going on, and she had a situation where the Bigfoot, which we're assuming was a female mother and a child, but they were coming in and were taking her bird seeds. So they would take Cindy's bird seeds out of the backyard. So Cindy, but they would also kind of, I guess, taunt Cindy. I don't know if they were playing a game, and maybe they didn't understand that it was really scaring Cindy, but Cindy was very, frightened from this. So they would come, and I think they would tap on Cindy's windows and things like that, and they would howl. They do a lot of things. And Cindy actually, she sent me a good audio of one of them howling, and I think that's on my Facebook page. But what she was dealing with, and what I could piece together from the information she gave us was that she would hear the howls, but it wasn't around the property most of the time. It was a way off, like into the woods. So what we were assuming was that the juvenile would come and play on her property and take the food and tap on the house and bother her. But the howls were coming from the mother, and we were assuming that the mother was calling for the son or the daughter to come back. So what would happen was the child, I guess, was the juvenile, kind of, he would hide, but he wanted to play. He wanted to get out and have, like a child does. He wants to get out and have fun, or just spooks Cindy. We didn't know, but anyway, he came out. One time he tried to get into Cindy's house. Cindy had a door on the side of her house. Now that really kind of freaked me out. I said, I don't know if he's playing games on that one, but he had took the doorknob and he tried to get in on the side of the house because like I said before, she had a door on the side of her house. She had a two-level house, so the door was on the first floor. Her basement was one of the basements. It wasn't an underground basement. It was an above-ground basement. So you can go walk into the patio door, or you go through the little door on the side of the house. That was kind of, you know what I mean? That's kind of got you thinking, could this be something, could it be fun and games, or could it be this thing's up to something nefarious? So anyway, we ended up me back up again. It was daytime when I got there. So after she told us the situation of what was going on, we investigated her area, her neighborhood. We went across to the neighbor's yard. We found out that the neighbors were beekeepers with honey. So I said, well, that kind of explains everything. It probably wants the bird seed, and it's probably eventually going to plot to get over here to the bee farm of your neighbor. But the neighbor's bee farm was surrounded by a high fence that was over 6 feet tall. So, if these things, I guess if they really wanted to do it, they could, obviously, but not wanting to be seen because, the Bigfoot and the Dogman, they're just naturally stealthy. That is their programming. They're stealthy. They're like the military. That's how they roll. So to crush a fence and make a bunch of noise to steal some honey, I'm sure they're way more disciplined than that. So we started to notice strange structures, unusual structures, and tree breaks across the street from Cindy's and Cindy's backyard. But what I noticed, Cindy had a huge 6-foot rock. And this 6-foot, well, actually, I take it back. This rock was probably about 7 feet high. It was in her backyard. And I just made note of that for no reason, just making note of it. But anyway, as nightfall came, Cindy was a great cook, so she cooked us something. We ate something. We sat on her deck and we were talking. We talked for a while, and then all of a sudden I felt something staring at me to my left. Now this is when things started to get kind of shaky or kind of weird. But I noticed, I looked, but I thought it was because she had I think it was a farm that kind of down the woods from her, in the back of her woods, the back of her yard, you can see a farm. But I saw what looked like these blinking lights. But the blinking lights, I kept looking because I thought maybe the farmer had like some type of colorful or security light. The security lights on a farmhouse would just be white. But these lights kept looking like they were changing colors. And I kept looking. So anyway, I said, well, that's just probably the farmer. He probably just has, the security motion light. So whatever's around there is probably just, the cattle or whatever they had, farm animals walking back and forth. So anyway, I go back to talking to Cindy, but then I feel this thing staring at me again. So I look. To my surprise, I'm looking, and I'm glad I had made note of that, the rock that was about 7 feet high earlier, because I see something peeking out from the rock. And so I got up from the deck, and Daniel was on the deck with Cindy, and I walked down slowly, and I took my cell phone with me, and I said, this can't be, this is not what I think it is. This can't be what I think it is. So it's staring, and the eyes are huge, and if for certain listeners, if you all remember how the E.T. would stare, E.T. in the movie, or how he would kind of tilt his head, and he would stare with these big eyes, and kind of you would see the motion of the head and these big eyes. Well, that's kind of how it was. It would blink, and then that's when I knew. I said, that's not the farmer's lights, because this thing is closer. And then I looked at the farmhouse, and the farmhouse didn't have motion lights. So I look at these, what I thought was lights actually were eyes, and they were huge, and they were blinking. And they were just staring at me. So I went into the woods, and I started to approach it slowly, but then I stopped. And I was trying to I wanted to make sure what I was seeing was what I thought I was seeing. Let's put it that way. So I'm looking, and I thought to myself, I said, wait a second. That's not a deer. Ain't no damn deer 7 feet tall, because there's a 7-foot tall rock, and these eyes are peeking from around the rock and above the rock. As a matter of fact, it stayed behind the rock, but it would stare as if it was like a child would fold his arms. You ever see? I'm sure you have children, and a child will stare at you, and they just fold his arm and lean up against something. Like a little kid, because you get curious. Well, this is what that thing did, and it just it was staring, and I kept looking, and it was looking at me, and I was looking at it. So I took the cell phone out, I tried to run a video, but every time I ran the video, I would put it on the eyes, and you couldn't see anything on the phone. And I would take the phone away, and then you would see the eyes. So I just kept looking, and I said, I gotta be quiet because from what this Cindy told me, I know what that is. And he or she apparently isn't too worried about us seeing it because he or she was staring. Like it was like, hey, I'm like, what are you? And I guess it was like, well, what are you? So we're both staring at each other. And it's blinking. So I knew it was alive. It wasn't it wasn't what do you call it? Eye trick or trick nighttime trick or whatever, or trick of the mind playing tricks. That's what I'm trying to say. Mind playing trick. So I saw it, and fortunately, Daniel had radios, CD radios or whatever. Daniel had contacted me and said, "Do you see anything?" Yeah, I said, "I'm staring at it right now." And he said, we were going back and forth. And I told him, well, I'll keep my eye on it, but I had to get off the radio because I didn't want to spook it. If it could hear the transmission, hear all the noise, it might start to get spooked because of the technology, aspect. It was just me staring at it and it staring at me. But once you start putting technology into the mix, and these things don't like that. So we slowed down on the walkie-talkie thing. So I just continued to stare, and I think it lasted. I probably got about a good 12, maybe 12 minutes, maybe about 12. And I figured that it's eventually going to roll out. It's going to go. So I said I better just keep calm. And I started to get kind of like a little worried because I was like, one thing I always know dealing with these things, a lot of people might see them head on and they get scared, but I said, it's not always what's in front of you, it's what could be on the side of you and back of you. So there was a house next to Cindy's, and I just kind of thinking in my mind, well, what if his mother, he or she's mother is over there? And I said, the mother, could just take me out in a heartbeat. But I just stayed, I was a little creeped out, but I said, I don't want to, I don't want to be one of those people you get, you see it, you running, and that's it, because I would regret it. So I stayed out and kept calm, and I stared at it, and then I guess after a while, it got bored, and, the Bigfoot got bored, or baby Bigfoot got bored, and it left. So what happened was, what we did, I immediately went up because Daniel he has a whole arsenal of stuff. So I ran up on the deck and we talked about it. So what Daniel did is he immediately ran a video because he's a deer hunter too. So he ran a video of eye shine for deer so that we could, and it was good that we did it immediately because just to make sure, even though I know wasn't no damn deer 7 feet tall, but still we ran it and that was good just to make sure everything I was seeing was, at 100%. So I said, no, these eyes were nothing like the deer, nothing like that. And no deer is that tall, and no deer is going to stand behind a rock just staring at you for that long for no reason. I mean, just to, it just didn't make sense. So I think that was a juvenile, and that was my first eye-to-eye sighting. I've heard them before, but that was my first eye-to-eye sighting. So that was a great night, and we investigated the rest of her neighborhood that night just to see, but we nothing else after that. So we woke up the next day. We talked about it, traded notes, and I made my way back to Maryland. And then after that, it was pretty good though. We investigated some other areas. And then after that, that's when I finally met up with JP, and then we finally became a team. And then another guy from DC, that's Mark. Mark came into the picture, and they were real trustworthy guys and all that. So I started taking them to all my areas, and I let JP, he managed the areas because I had got real busy working and all that. I went back to work, and everybody knows I worked like crazy, but that was real good. So he kind of kept up the areas and kind of investigated, and most of our areas had dried out. Wasn't a lot of action. So we had ended up, we got lucky because we found in West Virginia, and we had heard a lot of, I guess you could say, kind of rumors about it and stuff like that. They said they had all this craziness going on and all these Bigfoot running around, and one of the guys, he was like this dude, he was crazy, so nobody really knew if he was telling the truth or not. So we ended up going there, and JP and I, we camped out. We did a primitive camp out there in West Virginia in the mountains, and come to find out, this crazy guy was right. He really did. He had these things out there. So we investigated the area. We camped out there for about 3 days, and JP, he did a hammock. He slept in a hammock. I slept in the tent, and he wanted to see it too because he had never seen one, and I just finally saw one eye to eye. So I said, well, I was thinking to myself, if you want to see one, you definitely will sleeping in that hammock. You know, you look like a delicious taco to them probably, so you'll definitely get what you want tonight. So that night, I went ahead. I was sitting, and we were talking and chit-chatting. So I had looked up. Once again, I felt something stare at me. So I looked behind me, and I saw what looked like this thing running back and forth. But the eyes were piercing red. They were just a stone red, and it was just going back and forth. And I said, it's not. I couldn't catch it with the cell phone because my cell phone was charging. Because like I said, I was running off of power. Like I had the battery packs, little cell phone battery packs you can get from Walmart or whatever. So I've been running the phone off of them for like 3 days. So my phone was charging. I couldn't get that, unfortunately. I couldn't get whatever. It was to the ground. It wasn't standing up. It was definitely to the ground, and whatever it was on all fours, and it was running back like football, like when they do, football cadence. But it was down. And it was hunched. But I never understood that why I was doing that, because it didn't growl, it didn't do anything. It just ran back and forth, So I didn't understand why, and it wasn't trying to get us off the land or anything. So I don't know. Maybe it was just maybe it was just a hyperactive juvenile or whatever. But I don't know. So we retired for the night. I went to my tent. JP went to his hammock, and when at night, because now this was summer. It's like it is now. It's hot, humid, and if you can imagine, we don't have we don't have fans or anything because there's no electricity because we're primitive camping. We're deep in the woods and there's nothing around but the moonlight. So I'm kind of going to sleep, but I'm up because trying to sleep in heat is uncomfortable. Sleeping in heat and humidity is very uncomfortable. And I see something about my tent, but I thought it was just JP because he's a huge guy too. He's like I think 2-something, 6 foot something, whatever. He's a big guy too. So he walks past the tent. I'm thinking it's him past the tent. So I didn't think anything of it, and I heard him messing with his tent, and I just went to sleep. So the next day I wake up and Big JP says, "Well, did you hear anything?" I said, "Nah, I went to hear anything." I had my radio, so I just played that to help me sleep. Because, it's definitely quiet out there. It was, it's nothing, So he said, well, one of the squatches, because we slept near a river on purpose, because, since a lot of times they hang out, by the rivers, we slept there so that we could, get the interaction, try to get some evidence. So he said, well, one of them, he said, I was in my hammock, and he has one of the hammocks you can cover yourself up. So he had the hammock, and from the hammock, he said, well, something came, and it was coming across the water, I got scared, but I didn't look. I said, well, you should have looked. I was scared. I didn't look. And I said, well, you would have had what you wanted. You would have seen it. And he said, well, I scared it off because I moved. I twisted. I got scared. I twitched in my hammock, and you can hear it run. So I said, well, there you go. I mean, you had, you know, you didn't see it, but at least you know it's there. So anyway, that was, I told him, I said, well, the night before, did you walk past my tent? Because I thought I saw your shoulder walk by and you were wrestling or you got something from your tent. He said, no, I never got up. I said, oh, man. I said, that's both of us. I said, I missed it and you missed it. So he was like, yeah, so, we investigated the area, and, the funny thing about it, we were already deep, but I wanted to go deeper and see if there was anything. But once again, like I said, the deeper we didn't find anything. We didn't find any structures or anything like that. But, JP said something that was it was really on point, and this is before, because when I was doing it, I used to think that it was 100% flesh and blood. I didn't understand that these things are they're part of both worlds. Let's put it that way. And I didn't fathom that at first. So he said, "Well, I think that these things are closer to civilization." I was like, "No, they they're deep in the woods. That's if they're flesh and blood, they're not going to want to be near us all the time unless they're just checking us out." But most of the time, and he said, "No, I really think they're more close to us. I think there's perhaps a portal or something that they're coming through." So in my mind, I didn't really understand the science behind it. I didn't believe in the portals and things like that. But as time went on, and I started really hearing about other people's encounters, and hearing you and the rest of the fellas, hearing everything that you all were discussing around, I started to say, well, I really do believe that these things are between both worlds. I mean, they have to be, because we don't have definitive proof. We have we have the Gimlin film, and then we have the Skunk Ape film that was done by Mr. David. I forgot his last name, but Mr. David did that in Florida. The Skunk Ape, very, very good footage. But other than that, we don't have the visual proof that we need. We have the proof for ourselves, but we don't have everything to prove to the world, and whoever does have it is not giving it up. You know what I mean? So, we don't have one. Everything in life, beings make a mistake. We have people that walk out in the street, they get hit. We have people that fall. We have people that get hurt, that have accidents and things like that. But how many times have you heard a story of somebody riding down a dark highway and you see a dead Bigfoot because it's been hit by a tractor trailer or something? It doesn't happen often. But we've all probably seen, well, not all of us, but we've had situations where we've either seen a dead body or somebody's been hit because, the traditional thing, when you have a family member or a friend that's hit on a highway, what do? You put a cross there, or you put teddy bears, or you put balloons and candy. We've all seen that. So somebody's been hit along that road. So, and I'm going to get to the point, but the point I'm making is that everything makes a mistake. Things have accidents. But we can't even get one of these things making a mistake. That's why one of the reasons why I believe that it does walk between two worlds. It can't just be flesh and blood, because we can't get a dead one. If it's flesh and blood, if it was 100% flesh and blood, it has to make a mistake. If it's in this dimension with us, nothing is perfect except God. So it would have to make a mistake. You know what I mean? So that means you have to find if the dog man was 100% flesh and blood, it has to make a mistake. We'd have to find a dead one. We have to find bones. The same thing with Bigfoot. It'd have to make a mistake. Somebody would have to hit one. We'd have to find one I firmly believe that it does walk between two worlds now. At first I didn't, but now I do. But we, after we, back to the trip we had in West Virginia, after we did that, we came back to Maryland State, and we just proceeded. A lot of action kind of slowed down after that. We didn't have too much, but actually JP had went back out to West Virginia where we had the campsite. He went back out there. I couldn't because I was working. But he did a great video where he got one of the squatches. He got the eye shine, and it was down, and it got up, and then it walked off. Excuse me. So it went down, got up, and walked off. He did a quick video of that, and he put it on YouTube, but he put it under some kind of crazy number. Some people, when they post a YouTube thing, they won't use a sentence or name. They'll use codes or numbers. So I forgot the code that he used for YouTube. But anyway, he ran a great video on that. So that was twice there. So we plan on going back out there and seeing what's up. And we're going to do another one by the lady that's named Quantico. We're going out there. Now we did have another situation. A friend of mine, she had some very, 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 very compelling photographs. She had some of the best Sasquatch photographs that I have seen. Now, I'd heard people say, which was funny, a lot of people laugh at it, but they say sometimes the Bigfoots look like Cornelius from the Planet of the Apes. And I didn't, I just thought it was a big joke. I didn't believe it. But I'm going to tell you something. After this woman that showed me her photograph, and she's in Virginia too, when she showed me her photographs, and had one of these big boogers up on her skylight, and this thing had that, like they say, some of them have that grin that looks crazy. It's not a grin, but it's just the shape of their mouth. And he did look like Cornelius from Planet Apes. It was so crazy, but it was creepy. It wasn't like, ooh, that's cool. It was creepy because this massive thing's on your skyline on the top of your house. So she showed me that. She showed me a few other things. And I tell people that these things are massive. She showed me a male and a female together with a baby. I mean, the baby alone, let's see, I'm 5'9", so the baby alone would be from my waist to my foot. So the baby was that large because the mother was cradling the baby. And the mother was massive. I mean, seeing the mother alone was massive, but the father, it was almost like a Hallmark card. The father, and then they were all sitting on the ground. They were under a tree. And the mother was leaning into the father, like human people do when they take a picnic. And the baby was being cradled in the mother's arm, but the baby was huge. And you could tell that it was a baby because she was cradling it. It wasn't a teenager or whatever because, he would have been out and about or doing his own thing. But he was cradling it. So you knew it was an infant. But this thing was massive. The mother was massive alone. And the mother covered the father. So I can only imagine. But the funny thing about it is that they were almost translucent. That was the thing that was the kicker. They were translucent. It was almost like either they were hiding, like the Predator movies. They would kind of blend in with the background. So what we did is I found an area near this woman's property because she didn't want anybody on her property, and at the time she didn't want anybody to know. So I had to keep it confidential because I was just grateful to be able to see, all these great photographs and everything. So I ended up finding an area by coincidence actually near her property. So we had actually went and investigated the areas. It's called Turkey Hill or something crazy like that. But anyway, we went to Turkey Hill, and when we got back in town, I got a friend. He does remote viewing. And I said, could you remote view this area? And then what I did, I looked at the map because I love looking at maps. So I looked at the map, and I've come to find out it was close to the lady's property that had showed me the pictures of the squatches, which I thought that was really crazy. But it was just a coincidence. But we didn't see anything. We saw a few structures at Turkey Hill, but we didn't get any visuals or any crazy sound. So anyway, and this kind of taught me a little bit of a lesson. When the buddy had remote viewed the area, he ended up being able to. He was showing that the squatches were staying near the lady's property, but he didn't know of the lady. He didn't know of her. He didn't know anything because I didn't want to tell him and kind of, I don't know the word, incriminate his mind with details. So I purposely left that detail out of it. But what happened was he had actually remote viewed and found the areas that the squad happened. They were near her property. So from there, I said, but why wouldn't it be at Turkey Hill? Because Turkey Hill was massive. It was like 250 acres, maybe more. And it had everything you needed. It was called Turkey Hill for a reason because they had turkey running around there. So it would be the perfect places for the Bigfoots to run around. But what I started to kind of learn from that and from what Big JP had told me about the portals and all that is that I was figuring that maybe perhaps they don't want to be bothered with us, but it's something that kind of. Sometimes I think some of them like to be near us, but they don't want us to bother them. It's their form of television, entertainment to see us goofing off and acting up and wilding out. And I think that's because I talked to a remote viewer. I said, well, why wouldn't they be in Turkey Hill? Turkey Hill is quiet. There's nobody around. It's got plenty of food. It's got plenty of places you can hide. It's quiet. Why wouldn't they be there? Why would they stay on this lady's property? And we couldn't figure out. So that's the only thing that I could come up with. What I assume was that some of them they like to view us because hers would, they hung around her property. And why hang around a human being's property when you have everything you need right down the road? You have your food, you have your shelter, you have your water, you have your streams, but they prefer to hang out with her, I guess. So that was another thing that let me know that sometimes these things aren't, because my imagination when I first started, I said, well, they all got to be deep in the woods. And they all got to look like Patty. I was like, they're very stern about that. But then as I started to kind of learn more and more, not all of them want to be deep in the woods. Some of them, I guess for whatever reason, they have business near civilization. There's certain things, I saw one hop out of a dumpster, so that's one reason why they like to be near us, or like to be near, an area of civilization. So we had some other, some small adventures, and the places that we went, we investigated. And we got some good stuff, but like I said, after a while things kind of dried out, and we're just looking forward to kind of starting back up. I'm not working as much as I used to, so I got more free time now. So we're looking, because I think 2018, I think 2019. I didn't do too much. I think I only went out a few times in 2019, but like I said, we found a few good places, and my good buddy, Colorado Bigfoot, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he does research out in Colorado, and he does some good stuff, has some great stuff on him. He's real cool. He'll come. We team up once a year, and we usually all go out Bigfooting, and I'll take him to some of my areas, and do that. And I'd love to go to this area, but I have a fear of flying. But I'd love to go to Colorado, definitely, because I heard really they're active there, especially at nighttime. But that's it. Like I said, we've had some other stuff, but it's not really anything big to pretty much it.
I had left. I forgot what you said. Anybody got any questions? That was a good one though. You know I'll be up there next week though, right?
Uh, okay, would you coming to visit family?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just let me know. Let me know.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna definitely do that. I'm gonna definitely do that. Cause I was telling you that lady on the Eastern Shore that was trying to get me to come down there to
Right,
chill with
yeah,
them
yeah.
Doug men. Yeah,
Okay, okay, I got you.
yeah, that helps to have them
Yeah, you
chill
better
with
get
them.
some rest too.
Huh?
Okay. You better get some rest too.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will. But again,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on and you know sharing your sights and experience and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks for having me. It was good for us to finally catch up. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Zane. All right,
Okay, take care now.
all right, you too.
Bye bye.
Bye. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this cause I had to leave for a minute. I thought he was gonna still be talking and look at the my grandson. So I'm gonna go ahead and upload this and I see y'all on the next live.